Hello Internet, and today's video is going to be another book opinion, those videos in which I tell you my opinion on a book, and today's book is going to be Reckless by Cornelia Funke. This is the first in a series, the Mirror World series. This is book 1. So, first off, this cover is hideous, let's just get that out of the way, and every alternative cover for this book is also hideous. I don't know how they did it, but they made every cover look atrocious. So, thumbs up for that. Now, on to this book. It could have been better. It had so much potential and so many good points in it that the low points really dragged the book way down. So this book is about a pair of siblings. It follows the oldest sibling, a kid named Jacob, and he discovers that there's a mirror in his father's office that is leading to a portal world. So this is a portal world book. At the age of 12, he discovers on the other side of this mirror is this huge fantasy world. They refer to this world as the mirror world, and Jacob spends most of his childhood and adult life there, adventuring, questing, treasure hunting, and just all around just having a good time in this world. He goes back and forth from the mirror world to the regular world, but he spends most of his time in the mirror world. He has a younger brother who is left behind in the regular world and knows nothing about the mirror world and just thinks Jacob is a very distant older brother. Well, this story starts off where his younger brother has followed him through the mirror world, and in this mirror world there are these rock-like creatures. They are gem creatures. They're made out of stone. And a dark fairy is in love with the king of these gem creatures, and she allows them the ability to transform others into gem creatures. So like humans and other creatures can be captured and later transformed. I think the transformation mainly happens to humans according to this book, but because of the dark fairy, more of these rock creatures and gem creatures are being created. So Jacob's younger brother comes across a group of them, and he ends up getting this curse where he starts to turn to jade. And it just so happens that being a jade warrior gem person is super specific and super special. Jade is supposed to be the most loyal and the bravest and stronger warrior. So now the king, the gem king, is looking for Jacob and his sibling to get Will, the younger brother, in his fully formed gem body. So Jacob throughout this whole book is trying to figure out a way to save his brother because he feels bad that his brother ended up accidentally following him into a mirror world, and this kid had no experience, and he just wants his kid brother to be back to normal, to no longer have these problems, to no longer be going through this. In this book, both siblings are adults, so just so that that's out of the way, so that you understand they're both adults. And it talks a lot about the family issues between the Reckless brothers because Jacob was so distant and always running off to the mirror world and never bothering to take care of Will, not even once, or share this mirror world with him. So I like the premise of the portal world. I really like portal fantasies. I think they're fantastic. It's always interesting to see a person from one world be removed and taken to another. However, the downside is that the access between our world and this mirror world was so easily granted to the Reckless siblings that I didn't get a chance to fully feel out the mirror world, because the human characters in this book often talked about being on the other side of the mirror in the normal world. Reckless did it. Both Reckless brothers did it. There was a human female character that came from the other side who was the lover of the youngest Reckless brother, and all three of them constantly refer back to Earth and the regular world, and they don't go on in detail about their lives there, but there is definitely a lot more focus on how different the mirror world is compared to that world, rather than an exploration of the mirror world itself. So that really dragged it down. There was also several points in time where Jacob would tell you about the mirror world and some quests that he did, because he has been a treasure hunter for at least the past 10 to 12 years, ever since he discovered the mirror world. Like, he apprentices for this, he went on a ton of adventures, he's gained a name for himself. The most annoying thing about this book, and something that happens often that I really did not like at all, was the fact that in this world it told you a lot about the mirror world and things that Jacob had did, but it didn't show you the things that happened. So a lot of times it would be mentioned that Jacob went on different interesting quests. He's had a lot of time in this world, at least 10 to 12 years, and he is a renowned treasure hunter. So he's gone on a lot of adventures, and through this journey and quest of trying to figure out a way to heal his brother, there are several times mentioned where Jacob did this or did that. He fought a child-eating witch, he got involved with the fairies, he got involved with unicorns or dwarves or something amazing, and it would just mention it. It would just be a one line like, Jacob Reckless was once involved with a fairy. And we wouldn't get any story, we wouldn't get like how he got involved with the fairy, what was the purpose of him getting involved with the fairy, what was their relationship like. It would just, that would be the line, and that was it. And then we would go back to humans complaining about how dangerous the mirror world was. And I just kept getting tired of it, because all I wanted to learn about was the mirror worlds, because it had some really interesting things going on, like how these Goyle, that's what they're called, the gem creatures are called the Goyle. So the Goyle, their relationship with the humans, and how much tension it was between these two, and how they've been at war, and the politics, and like how the village people don't like the Goyle. And then there's the dwarves and how they work, and like their little systems. And then there was the fairies. Like, I really wanted to learn about this island of fairies and why they stayed on the island. What were the purposes of the dark fairy leaving and falling in love with a Goyle? What were all these adventures that Jacob went on? Because he mentions child-eating witches, which is like Hansel and Gretel stuff, and he mentions like several things from different fairy tales that are like real in this world, and we never really get a full explanation or full exploration of those different concepts. We just get glimpses and pieces of someone telling us that Reckless did this or Reckless did that, but we don't actually see it for ourselves. We just have to trust that it happened because it was said to have happened, and that was really irritating, because I was like, we are in the mirror world. Can we do something in the mirror world? Can we go see the mirror worlds? Can we hear about the politics of the Goyles and the humans, about the different weird things that you can find in the mirror world? No. Whenever we would have those moments, they would be great, but then it would be dragged down in the next couple chapters, where all it is talking about like humans not liking the mirror world and wanting to go back, and then we had to deal with the family issues between the Reckless siblings and then this random human girl that's there and is talking about stuff and doing stupid things, and it was just really tiring. Like, I did not like a single human character in this book. I wanted to learn about the mirror world, and I felt like when we did learn about it, we didn't learn enough, and then what we got instead of that just paled in comparison to this amazing portal world that just had fairy tales come to life, and not always in the least menacing ways. So Reckless is a decent book. Alright, it's a decent book that has a decent portal world, but I don't think this author goes deep enough into the exploration of the portal world, really giving us a feel for it, and instead take shortcuts by just having Jacob mention that he went on a quest looking for this, or he met a person doing this, but we don't actually get to see outside of that. When it comes to the adventure quest part, again, it was like 2 parts we actually got to see some action going on, and then 2 parts Jacob just mentioning that he did this or mentioning that he did that. Like, for you to kind of get an idea of how this book goes, the very beginning of this book doesn't even start where it's like, Will follows Jacob through the portal and we see him get attacked and slowly transform into a Goyle. No, it's just like, Jacob is now trying to figure out because his brother stupidly followed him through the portal and got scratched. So now he's turning into a Goyle. And I'm like, so we're not going to see the act that went down, the battle that went down that started this transformation into a Goyle? No. And I was like, what about that? I would have kind of liked to see that fight. I mean, I didn't need something long and drawn out, but I would kind of like to see like Will pop up behind Jacob and being like, why is there this whole new world? Why didn't you tell me about this? What's going on? And then like in the midst of them arguing, like Goyles come and ambush them, and like Jacob trying to defend his brother, but then his brother ends up getting like scratched or something and starts to turn. Like that would have been an interesting scene, but instead we just get told that it happens and we never get to actually see it. And that happens often with a lot of these plot points where it's just like, oh, you get told that it happens, but you don't get to see the interactions with the characters. You don't get to see like the history behind it. You don't get a detailed backstory or like any backflashes, and it ends up being really sad because all of those things that are just mentioned are like the most fascinating and interesting parts of the book. So I was disappointed. I have read of other work by this author, and I think she is a pretty decent author, but this just doesn't do it for me. I want a portal world, and if it's going to be a portal world and the book about a portal world, I want us to be focused on that portal world, and I want a lot of world building, right? I'm entering into a new reality where the rules are different, where the people are different, where the culture, the norms, all of this is different. I want to explore this world. I don't want to constantly listen to characters talk about how they want to go back to the other world, about how they can easily escape and just run off to the other world, and they mention it off and on again. And I'm just like, that's not what I'm here. I just want to stay in the mirror world, focus on the mirror world, and learn more about this mirror world. I don't want to hear about anything else. I don't care about anything else. I just want this. And the book couldn't do that for me. So this book is like a low 3 for me. It was like what it did give me, I was happy with, but I was really disappointed when it just told me things and it didn't show me things. So this was a book that I read. As you can see, I have some pretty strong feelings about it. I just want you guys to comment down below if you have ever read a book where you think just suffered from the lack of world building, like suffered. It made the whole reading experience worse because the author refused to fully build the world around these characters, for the characters even to have anything to interact with in a fashion that was entertaining to you as the reader. If you like what you're seeing here and you want to continue to see more, click all those bunnies down below, and goodbye, internet.